Well. Yeah, I got the bitterness everywhere. Bitch, I'm dying on the inside. I'm dying. I'm dying. What the hell? Okay. It's time for munchies. Open that window. Nice and cold in here. Oh, it doesn't feel that cold outside. I hope it gets colder. Bitch, I'm dying on the inside. Oh, that's probably loud. You shut the fuck up. Oh, man. I need to keep it down. I need to keep it way down. There are bugs in here. There's bugs in here somewhere. 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 There's bugs in here. Gotta make sure the door's locked. Don't know who's coming home tonight, but whoever they are, they got a house key, so we're good. Chef Dorn here, right? One for each stomach that I have. Oh, Jesus. My back is not happy. I've come full circle. Except this time, I'm in a different sort of area of where I originally was. I feel like personality-wise, I've kind of also come full circle. Whoa. last year has been so fucking crazy and spontaneous and so far outside of my comfort zone. My comfort zone is definitely bigger now. It's definitely bigger. It's much bigger. My stress tolerance is pretty large as well. Just so tired, man. And it never gets any easier. You know what I mean? You just kind of learn to take more shit. I feel like I'm just now starting to get over things that I've been struggling with for years. Like just now. I have a lot of thinking to do about things. But I say that all the time, and I do a lot of thinking. You know what I mean? I do a lot of thinking. And I don't know, you know. Thinking is, I don't think about the things I say I need to think about. I just think about random shit. You know, when I say I need to think about something, just kind of throwing it into the ether, the mental ether, you know. Thinking about it is crossing the bridge when I come to it in whatever way I think is best. I guess usually when I say I think about something, I'm thinking about it in the moment, and then I don't think about it later. I don't know, thinking's weird. Just like everything else in the world, everything's weird. Oops, might have had those in for a little too long. Now, anywho. Nothing to do with you there. Stuff is really bad for you, but whatever. Fuck it, YOLO. YOLO. Yogas. Yogas. You only get one shot, baby. What are you gonna do? Sit around and be healthy all day? I don't think so. I sure am. There's probably a reason I have so many pimples. Man, I remember back when I was in the fucking sober living. It honestly was a vibe sometimes. Just kind of sitting there, sound of the highway in the background. You know. This is fine too. Crunchy. Why am I drinking caffeine before I'm about to go to bed? I don't know. Because I'm an idiot. Because caffeine tastes great. Plus, it's Saturday. All that time in California I spent just the blip. Just all, it started and it was over. And then that second treatment center and sober living in the past few months, my entire fucking life. Everything's just I'm barely even caught up. I am actually. I never really even think about anything that's happened in the past year, 2 years. Not anymore, at least. But now that I've talked about it, I'm thinking about it a lot. I remember Sherry. Why didn't you do your double scrub? She was fun. She was a funky character. I think when I was there, that's kind of when I started to drift away from the idea of being spiritual. And suddenly spirituality just kind of seemed like a mental trope. And then, and then everything just started to seem like a trope. And then I just sat and thought about the idea of nothing for a while. It's like what it would be like not to exist. You know? It's like trying to think about what it was like before you were born. Your brain kind of has the context to fill it in a little bit, but as for your perception, it just kind of started one day. I think the farthest back I can remember is about to when I was probably like 3, maybe 3 or 4, but that's really when it starts to get really foggy. It's just kind of bits and pieces. And then everything from like 4 up, I remember pretty fine. Remembering anything past being 4 years old is just really difficult. And I feel like it's because I fucking... Never mind. It's probably not why, about fell on my head when I was younger, right here. There was this park, and there's these metal bars in the bricks, like these little metal like quarter plates, kind of. They were like this thick, sticking up out of the bricks, or out of the big cement things. And I was walking on them, and I accidentally tripped on one of them, and I hit my head on another one of them when I was like 3. Just fucking fucked up my head right there. I don't even remember. You know what I mean? I remember it happening, and that's it. I remember falling and hitting it, and then everything else, that's literally that isolated little moment is all I remember. Just tripping and hitting my head, and then crying like a little fucking toddler, and then that's it. But I don't want to think about that too much, because then things are just going to start to get really existential, and I might panic a little bit, so. Maybe not. Fuck, man. Kind of wish I didn't think about that. But, I was told that I got 2 stitches, though. Or something. So it couldn't have been that bad. Life has been so... I'd say, if anything, life has just been so lonely. Just because of how much I alienate myself from everything. And I never feel like I'm truly part of anything. But I kind of do at the same time. I don't know. I don't really feel like attached to reality very much. I feel like, and when I think about it, it just gets messy. Like, whether or not I feel like I'm like consciously present or not at all times. Like, sometimes I think a lot about when I was in middle school and I was just kind of the bitch of the group and everybody just kind of like treated me like shit. You know? And then think about how much I did, like, struggle in school and stuff. And I was always getting way more high than I felt like I was always getting way more high than I felt comfortable with, you know? Like, they would be like, no, you're smoking. And then I would get really high and I would be very overwhelmed and overstimulated because I was young as hell. And I would just be sitting there like fucking, you know, just high out of my goddamn mind. Like for probably like fucking 12. Sitting there fucking. And then everything just changed. Felt like a fucking, you know, I was always shoplifting, you know. I would run into the store and fill up my backpack for everybody. And then come out. They'd be like, give me this, give me that. I'd be like, I'll do it, because fuck it, you know. They didn't make me, I wanted to do it. I just wanted approval from everybody. So I did whatever I felt was necessary to get the most approval out of every situation. And everything was always about getting approval from my friends who were older than me. And man, I regret not asserting myself. I regret not being stronger, you know what I mean? I regret just letting everybody just fucking belittle me and talk down to me. I wish I would have fought more too. Because I never wanted to fight. I was like, I'm not gonna fight. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt my friends. And everybody was friendly fading all the time. And I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight anybody. I would never fight anybody. And then I just started to get really self-aware later on, and I fucking started to feel like everybody was against me and everybody was going behind my back, you know, and it felt like everybody had changed because eventually, like, my friend group kind of shrunk, and it was just kind of me and a few other people, and, you know, we were tighter, we were, like, better friends, and, because, you know, when it was really big, like, there would be, like, 10 to 15 people hanging out at a time, and the majority of people were just there to smoke weed, right? I just thought they were always going behind my back, and I thought they all, like, believed things about me that I didn't want them to think. And constantly thought there'd just be this moment where they all talk shit to me, and I thought, like, everything was a setup just to fucking make me feel like shit. And I was wrong. And I didn't want to tell them that either because I don't know. I just tried to be one step ahead instead. I just tried to like mess up their jokes and stuff, but it wasn't even that deep. I was just a complete nut job for a while. And then a freaking mentally evolved a little more. Became a little more mentally stable, but still a fucking complete wreck. And I started to think the world was against me. And with my friends, it kind of flip-flopped. You know, I wasn't having crazy reactions to the simplest jokes anymore, but still I didn't trust anybody on the inside. I still kind of don't. But, you know, those are the feelings I have to ignore. On the inside, I trust no one. I trust nothing. And everything is an attack until it's proved not to be. But, you know, those are just feelings I have to ignore. You know. I don't even know what I feel like now. Everything just became, when I started messing around with psychedelics, and everything just became so, like, existential, and everything became so, like, meta, and everything became so, like, what am I? What is my existence? What's my purpose? Just kind of, like, so much questioning about reality and a bunch of unnecessary things. And, you know, and then everything became about finding a satisfactory answer. And then and then in treatment I kind of realized there is no satisfactory answer. And that kind of helped things along a bit. You know. But, I just feel like I've just, like, never really known who I am. I don't even know what I'm about. Like, even as sometimes I just, like, look at myself be, you know. That's kind of what videos help with, is just watching myself and what I do and what I say and who I am. And it doesn't really show me much. I don't know why. I look at it and I just don't, like, I don't know. It feels like trying to observe myself is kind of like the way, like, light kind of, like, appears to, like, go around a black hole but not really ever go into the center. It's like, it feels like I just can't see myself, you know. It's like as if I'm every time I look in a mirror, you know, like, I can see, like, I don't know how to explain it. I just don't, like, I don't feel like anybody. I don't feel like a person. I don't feel like a personality. I feel just like what I can see and touch, and I just feel like my senses, and that's about it. Even though I feel like I definitely, like, project a personality outwards, but, like, from the inside perspective, I feel like my senses, and that's it. I feel like a bunch of senses. I feel like I just don't feel like anything but an animal on the inside. But not like a furry, but, like, I just feel like a, you know, like a mammal. I feel like a human being with a bunch of brain things going on all the time. And then sometimes I have a little bit of imagination to make things feel a little better and make them feel more convenient. Convenience is a huge thing. Convenience is just something to make everything easier. Just to kind of push everything out of the way until I can just lay down and chill again and do what I want, maybe play a video game. But then when I play a video game, it's just like, suddenly I'm just like I am a controller, and what I am in the video game is kind of just me. So it's like, just feels like I'm just kind of like, kind of autopiloting, and then commentary just feels like my thoughts, just when I'm speaking. I don't feel, it's really hard for me to believe in anything like, it's really hard for me to believe in anything because I don't feel a soul. I don't feel conscious. I just feel like a bunch of brain mechanisms, I feel like a flesh machine. I feel like not even a human being. I just feel like a fucking flesh machine. And I'd say the hardest thing out of anything in life, the hardest thing is to have sentiment for anything. The hardest thing is to well, I guess more so it's more so like relationships, like friendships, family. It's hard to like I don't know. Maybe it's more meaning based, like sentimental meaning. It's hard to really give a fuck about things that aren't like a direct impact to my survival or a direct impact to my convenience. It's difficult to give a fuck about anything except for what is convenient and what is inconvenient. And that's about it. Like, what's in it for me? That's about 90% of what's going on the inside. And then 5% is probably thinking, I have to be a little bit more considerate of meaning. And then, like, the other 5% is like, oh, well, I want people to feel cared about. So, I don't know, I don't know. I mean, I guess sometimes I want to do good for somebody else, but, like, at the end of the day, like, most of the time I'm thinking about what's convenient for me. Most of the time I'm thinking in a more selfish light. And that's just kind of how it be. Most of the time I'm just thinking about what I'm going to get out of it. But I'm pretty sure that's what everybody does, as far as I'm concerned. Unless I'm wrong, but never know, I'm not a fucking whatever-ologist, And that's another thing, just like, fucking, like, when people get all specific about everything, Like, actually, you're this type of person because of this and that and blah, 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 and meaning and context and human understanding and interpretation. It's hard to even
have that mean anything. It's just like you're just saying a bunch of stuff that you perceive. You're just giving your perspective, and that's all that is your perspective. You know, in the grand scheme of things, you know, maybe you're just a flesh machine and you just have a bunch of ideas, you know? Maybe you're just kind of a flesh machine that can think and apply principles to every situation you exist in, you know? Because, you know, in raw reality, does any of that really mean anything? Because, you know, if you die, you're gone. So, you know, what then? You know? Do any of your principles mean anything? No. Because you're not there anymore. So, as far as I'm concerned, that means you either cease to exist or you're elsewhere, you know? So, the dissolution of meaning is something that really is a struggle too. You know, just anything meaning anything. It's just like, who fucking cares? It's just human interpretation and perspective. It's just culture, you know? And that's just a man-made concept, you know? That's just a product of mankind, you know? That's really, animals don't have that. They just kind of do animal things. We just kind of overthink stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, you know? I mean, maybe science is correct, but like at the end of the day, you know, all this ethics and language and it's this way and not that way. I mean, that's just a bunch of human nonsense. Like, you know, because if you're a rock, which, you know, rocks aren't alive, but if you're a rock, that doesn't mean anything. You're just a rock, you know? And you're completely detached from that entire everything culture you are detached from. And it really gets down to the bare bones of things where, like, it gets really nihilistic and existential because at the end of the day, you know, it's just a bunch of words. It's just a bunch of human. It's just a bunch of human perception. It's just a bunch of made up imaginative stuff that helps us communicate and keep things in order. And, you know, we're just kind of doing what animals do and existing, you know. We're just kind of a flesh machine doing what a flesh machine does, which is whatever is happening right now. But, you know, I don't know. You know, that's just kind of a bunch of overthinking that I just shared pretty much. But it's kind of, I'm just trying to kind of like give my perspective in the way, like, you know, if I don't want to really listen to what someone's having to say, that's kind of just what I use to kind of tune it out. It's just kind of that, it's like a thought that kind of says all that in a summarized way. I mean, it's hard to even, hold on. Oh, the dishwasher's clean. God damn it. Can't really put my dish away, can I? Awesome. That's just awesome. Grandtastic. Whoa. And then there's when people say something is like cringe or something, or bullies should exist or something. That just like completely falls apart in my mind, where it's like, you're just a fucking like flesh machine. Like, what do you mean? You know? All you're doing is expressing culture, which is what your brain is kind of doing. I don't know. You know? Like, what even are you? You know? A fucking thinking, you know, complicated meat machine? Which isn't. It's hard not to think that way. Because, you know, it's hard not to. You know, in the grand scheme of things, it gets really wordy when I'm talking about it, but this is just kind of all like a feeling that just kind of gives off that kind of expression. You know? Fuck these guys, you know? They're just a bunch of meat machines, you know? They might just not exist after they die, you know? They might just be nothing. They might just reduce to nothing. You know, they might just cease to exist, you know? And you know, that's some real, the sun is gonna explode in a million years type shit, but you know, like, at the end of the day, you know, I just kind of always wonder, does anything really matter, you know? Like, does it even matter that you got offended? Or are you just a big jumble of meat? You know what I mean? Do your feelings even matter? Or are you just kind of a big jumble of meat? You know? Are you just a mechanism? You know, are you even alive? Are you even conscious? Maybe you're not conscious. Maybe you're just a bunch of brain. Maybe you're just a bunch of, you know, biomatter, you know, doing what biomatter does, you know. What if you died? Would you just be nothing, you know? Would it even matter that you got offended in the first place? Because now you just kind of don't exist anymore, you know? Maybe it would matter because that person's family would probably talk about them and then eventually move on, you know? But like, then again, you know, I've never lost, well, I lost my pet dog, you know? And I still think about her all the time. I have a picture of her in my wallet, you know? Um, Let me tell you, man, I miss her a lot. Her name was Maddie. Man, I fucking miss Maddie, you know? She was my baby girl, you know what I mean? So then that kind of makes me think, but, you know, that matters because it means something to me, which is one piece of sentiment that I feel like I have, you know? But, you know, kind of chewing on something here. I had a friend who passed away. And I remember just kind of feeling guilty because, like, I didn't really feel impacted by it. But, like, you know, maybe I was. You know? Maybe I was. Maybe I fucking was. And that's what I want to believe, you know? I want to believe that that was, like, I want to believe that I cared and thought that was, like, a bad thing and felt bad about that, you know? I want to believe that I felt anything, you know what I mean? But, like, you know what? Like, I don't fucking know. Maybe I did, you know? Maybe I did. And I just didn't feel like I could express it or something. And I don't fucking know, man. I think about that sometimes too. Like, I don't know. Is it okay for the death of someone else not really to have much of an impact on you? Like, you know. But like, I don't know. They weren't directly related to me and I didn't have really a direct connection with them. So, you know. It's just such fragile ground because it's really, I don't understand the psychology behind it. And I just want to fucking know if, you know, if, like, what I was feeling on the inside was like, you know, was like, what I was supposed to be feeling. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, you know? I just want to know if what I was feeling on the inside was like, you know, I want to know if it was good or bad the way I was feeling on the inside about it, you know? Because I just remember feeling kind of like guilty. Like, why don't I feel anything? I'm supposed to feel something about this, you know? She was my friend. Why don't I feel anything, you know? Like, I'm supposed to feel something, you know? I'm supposed to be mourning. I'm supposed to be sad. I'm supposed to be, like, completely distraught. You know, I'm supposed to feel like like something, you know. I fucking understand it, you know, and it makes me angry because, you know, I'm supposed to, like, fucking, you know, I don't fucking know, you know, like, I don't fucking know, you know. Like, I'm supposed to feel a certain way. I'm supposed to feel a certain way, and I don't. And, you know, maybe that just means I'm fucking terrible, you know? Like, I'm supposed to feel a certain way, and I don't. And I should. I'm supposed to feel that way, and I need to feel that way. Because that's what's good. That's what's supposed to happen, you know? That's like, you know, that is what I'm supposed to feel because it's important. Because, you know, that's, you know, I don't fucking know. I guess that's like what's morally ethical. That's what's ethical to feel something. So, you know. But I guess it's kind of fucking, I don't know. You know? I'm just a fucking, like, meat machine. I'm just a fucking bunch of meat. You know? Like, my entire perception of myself and reality is a fucking illusion. And, like, you know, I don't know what to fucking, I don't know how to fucking feel the way I'm supposed to feel when I'm supposed to feel something and I'm supposed to be a certain way. I don't know how to be that way. I just kind of know how to fucking survive and exist and do what I need to do to stay alive and do what I need to do to keep things convenient for my emotional well-being. And fucking, like, I don't fucking know. It's been a very, it's a very dehumanizing existence. And, you know, it's best not to think about that stuff because that's just what leads to a bunch of not good things. But, you know, like, fuck, man. You know? I'm just, like, so dehumanized. So fucking detached from just meaning and so detached from fucking everything. Just question things like that. Like, why didn't I feel the way I was supposed to feel about that? You know, is it okay that I didn't feel a certain way? Is it okay that I didn't really feel much of anything? Like, you know. And then, you know, I just feel fucking angry when things aren't convenient. Like, and then I'm like, oh, well, there I feel something, but it's not exactly a feeling that's very considerate of other people, but, you know, like, I don't know, what am I gonna do? There's nothing I really can do, you know? That's just the way I feel. How do you change the way you feel about something? How do you, like, make it so you feel differently about something than you do, you know? How do you make it so you don't feel the way you feel about something when you feel a certain way about it, you know? Like when you feel nothing, how do you make it so you feel the way you're supposed to feel, which is something, you know? Like, I don't know. Feel nothing. And it's difficult to feel a lot of things. It's difficult to feel anything except for the simpleness of inconvenience and convenience. Yes or no, one or zero. It's difficult to, like, everything is just black and white, you know? I feel good or bad. Nowhere in between. There is no in between. It's good or bad, you know? And, you know, I am a flesh machine.